Welcome to the Church Solutions Podcast, brought to you by JSL Solutions. The Church Solutions Podcast is designed to help equip you and your church in the use of technology and other tools and services. And now, here are your hosts, Steve Lacy and Phil Thompson.
And it's so good to have everybody with us today. My name is Phil Thompson.
And I'm Steve Lacy.
And we are coming to you with another edition of the Church Solutions Podcast. Steve and I work with a company called JSL Solutions, and we are a company that helps churches and ministries use technology, and we offer products like
StreamingChurch.tv, Church App Live, myflock.com, and Greeter.church.
And so if you're interested in any of those, just Google Greeter.church or churchapplive.com. Which is actually the domain name.
Yes.
myflock.com.
As I mentioned, I sent you an email talking about how I was validated this week because there's another company out there that's doing the online chat support system. They're not geared for churches, but they're. Right. But I didn't realize there's anyone else out there.
Well, somebody stole our idea.
Yeah. So there's lots of chat services, but these guys were providing the actual people, which is what we do.
Yeah, we do that too. So if you're interested in having us provide a greeter for your church website, just look at greeter.church. Type that in your browser and contact us. Okay, so Steve, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about Christmas.
That's right, because it's the end of September, and I'm in the mood to talk about Christmas.
We just celebrated the end of summer, right?
Yeah, we did.
Just a week or so ago.
Well, we're talking about Christmas ideas. And because honestly, if your church celebrates Christmas, most of them do.
One would think.
Although we had a guy in my church years ago that he did not celebrate Christmas. He would not come during the Christmas season. So, I respect that. But it would be good to give this a little bit of thought. Maybe listen to us for a few minutes here. We've got some ideas that might help you with your Christmas service. And one of the things, let's just jump into it, right?
All right.
Because Christmas is kind of important if you're trying to reach people.
And you need to plan for it, huh?
Well, yes.
Is that why we're doing it in September?
Exactly. You're planning for it.
This may not air till October, but.
No, well, this will probably get in later this week. So let's just jump in here, and you'll understand why I think it's that important. I don't really care that much for Christmas, to be honest with you, but I do think it's a good opportunity.
Humbug, huh?
Yeah, I am. I'm not a big Christmas. I like Thanksgiving.
My dad used to kind of dread it every year too.
Really? Didn't like it?
Well, he just kind of not sure I can be able to afford this Christmas again.
Oh,
so
well, it's not affordability's part of the issue, but my issue is, I don't know what my issue is. My issue is I just like Thanksgiving better. But I mean, Christmas is good.
So we have 10 tips, right?
10 tips here. 10 tips that will help you with Christmas ideas.
And so number one.
The first one would be assemble a team of people, preferably creative people. So this may seem like a no-brainer, but I know a lot of people that are either on staff or maybe they're a key volunteer at their church, and it pretty much all falls upon them or maybe one other person. And what I'm trying to say here with this is that start thinking now about some people you could get on your little Christmas team or whatever you want to call it, and begin to assemble some people that are kind of like-minded, people that, hopefully have a little bit of creativity. Right. Not just all creative people, because you do need some people that are administrative and, to kind of make this thing work. Because if you start now, you'll be a lot better off than, say, the first week in December. We ought to do something,
I guess there's lots to plan ahead for. You've got sermon series topics, and make sure you may or may not align with church. You've got decorations. You got all kinds of things that you got to prep for.
Yeah, and it just depends on how far you're going to go with the Christmas presentation. If you want something simple, it won't be as bad.
I know one of the churches nearby us that had a Christmas play every year, and they began working and actually full-time work on it starting in January.
Yeah.
I bet they took a week or two off after the thing was over And then they assembled the team, and they decided just recently, past couple of years, that this is way too much work.
Yeah.
But something starts really early. I know my wife used to do the children's Christmas pageant,
Mm-hmm.
and it would start in August. That's when they started rehearsals.
Really? I don't remember that, but that
she did many of them.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure she did. I just don't remember starting in August. But yeah,
it did, because I'm like, whoa. It's kind of like I was giving you a hard time. Well, Christmas in September, Christmas in August.
Yeah. So I just want to bring that point out because you need to meet regularly with these people and come up with some people and begin to think about it now, organize it now, start meeting now, because it will make life easier when it gets to December. Because, I don't have to belabor this point. I mean, once you get in close to December and you get into December, you got Christmas parties, you got all sorts of crazy stuff going on that's outside of church. So anyhow, all right.
All right, number 2.
Number 2, be outward focused. So this is a suggestion I have that, if you're going to come up with some Christmas ideas here, the first one is get a team of people. But the second one would be consider really being more outward focused this year, because Christmas can be what I would call a great on-ramp for people that don't normally go to church will show up. And we got some stats here.
Yes.
I mean, you like statistics. So the usual, there's about 18%, according to, I think, Catalyst out there, 18% of Americans go to church on a weekly basis. 18%. During Christmas, that number goes up to 47%. So it's a great opportunity to connect with people in your area.
Right.
So if you're going to plan some kind of a Christmas Eve service or whatever, really, think about people who aren't coming to your church. Get a little more focused on those who are outside your circle and see what you can come up with to, begin to
something
attract
that
them.
would appeal to those that aren't coming every week, huh?
Yeah, I think the presentation, as well as we got some more on this list here, but the presentation, but also how you're going to reach these people and those kind of things, which we can talk about here in a few minutes.
All right, makes sense.
Yeah. All right.
Number 3.
Number 3.
I guess we've been talking about this one already.
Yeah, we have. Start early, but this has to do with planning, putting some effort into this thing. You mentioned the church that was starting in January for the December, but they had so many moving parts. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
Didn't they have
it was
live animals?
Didn't they have live animals? They had it was a play.
Okay.
And they invited the public
Right.
to the play, and so they would have a dozen or more showings. I think you had to get tickets, but I don't know if they sold the tickets because it was jammed.
Right.
And it was a very well professionally done
Okay.
production at their facility. Typically a play with kids and adults, that sort of thing.
I think I'm thinking of one of our other customers on the east side of Tucson that has live animals. I think El Camino Baptist did live animals. I think they did. I could be wrong about that, but they had a huge deal. I've been to theirs, I think, years ago. It was like a huge deal. They had like a Christmas story outside, and you could come for a week or so every evening and walk around their property, and they had different stations with different characters from the Christmas story. So that's a good idea. Come up with that, right? Especially
here in Tucson.
Exactly.
Maybe in the 70s in December.
Yeah, it's great. You come out here. It's you can come out in December, and it's wonderful. But I think when we say start early, we're also talking about, I also know churches that have citywide events, so they actually move it from their own church facility and they rent something downtown, like the community center. And so you've got to really start planning early to be able to get all those parts lined up.
Yes.
So, yeah. All right. So let's move on.
Number 4, use effective channels.
Use effective channels. So when we say channels, I'm talking about things like ways to get the word out. Invite cards, postcards, which can still be very effective. Direct mailing can be effective if it's done right. Of course, Facebook is another option. that you can use, and we can talk a little bit about social media here in a moment. But word of mouth is a good way. So you want to try to get together all these different things, flyers, different things to begin to get the word out. Now, obviously, we're talking about now moving closer to December,
Yes.
and doing this, probably November, late November, maybe right after Thanksgiving, something like that, where you get these things out and you begin to, use as much media as you can. There are some, if you're doing some special production that's kind of unique, you might even get local television. The news people are always looking, local TV, they're always looking for a story to fill some time. So maybe get somebody to come out and, if you're doing something really special.
Or radio.
Radio is always a good thing. Yeah, absolutely. So really try to find out the effective channels out there, which, again, not just social media, but also good old stuff like, newsletters and cards and special posters, those kind of things that you can get out. So.
All right. So it's number 4. Number 5. It's kind of along the same lines, right?
Very similar, except that I narrow this down a little more to social media. Discover what works on social media. Now, we've talked a lot on this podcast over the last, how long we've been doing the podcast now? A couple years almost?
Something like that, yeah.
And, we talk a lot about social media. We've had people on here. One of the things we've talked about is, finding what works for you, whatever social media avenue or channel works for you, and then create some engagement in it, in which I think we had Jonathan Mom talked about this, right? Creating engagement. So you don't just post something, but you post something that's going to create some interaction. And you could post some maybe funny Christmas movie clips. If you've got the rights to do that, you could come up with maybe some funny Christmas, what do they call them? Memes now? Is that what all the kids are talking about? The MIME. You get an image and you get something funny
Yes.
on the image. So post something like that. I mean, I like humor, so that's a big deal for me. It doesn't have to be humor though; it could be something serious. But although I wouldn't make it serious all the time, you might get too deep and scare some people off. But maybe even some Christmas songs. Maybe ask people to post their favorite Christmas song or maybe their favorite Christmas movie, that kind of stuff, So begin to post this stuff and, do it on a social media channel that really works for you, and then try to do it with the idea of getting it shared with other people. So you post it on Facebook, somebody sees it, likes it, and they share it with their friends.
Yeah.
And their friends share it with their friends. And before you know, it's gone viral.
Yeah. I was just thinking I have a friend I used to work with at my former job where he was really into the home automation and the home lighting thing. So he was one of the pioneers a while back that had the big staged, orchestrated lights with the music and all that sort of thing. So I haven't heard any churches doing that. Yeah, that may be kind of interesting, a little out of the norm.
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. So some other things for Christmas ideas here as we move on here. Never too early to start planning. Something that some churches do, and I think it's a good idea. I didn't come from this culture, but some churches have this culture, and that is to share Advent devotional thoughts. So Advent for many traditional churches, and maybe some not so traditional, is a good thing. And you could maybe, this puts a little bit of effort, but maybe you could share some little thoughts for, every week or something during Advent, post it on your website, again, social media, maybe some handouts at church, those kind of things. Mm-hmm. Again, leading up to your Christmas presentation, maybe Christmas Eve service or whatever you're having.
All right. Sounds good. So number 7 is set up a photo booth.
Yeah, your church has done this.
Yeah, and it's been fairly popular, especially if you get the word out and people like to get dressed up and go to church. And so they want, we got all the kids dressed up. Let's take a family picture. So,
yeah. So, figure out, especially today with, digital cameras being so plentiful and
Yeah,
some
maybe
pretty good quality stuff out there now that's reasonable. You could set up, or maybe you could, there are people out there that will do it. You hire somebody to do it, get a really professional look and a nice background, and advertise it. Let people know this is coming for either Christmas Eve, or maybe it's not going to work for Christmas Eve, but maybe a couple weekends before Christmas Eve service.
Yeah.
Christmas Eve, sometimes people just kind of want to come and go.
Right.
But if you did something a couple weeks ahead of time, it would be good. It would also help in promoting the Christmas Eve event or whatever event you've got, and set it up and do it. And photo booth, not such a hard thing to do these days. And people, as you said, Steve, people really like that. So
Yes. All right, number 8. You can tell us about that?
Number 8, as we talk about Christmas ideas, make sure that whatever you're doing here, especially when it comes to promoting, you need to empower your members, empower your people. So you want to make sure that you come up with some nice graphics. Either you can purchase graphics online. You can come up with something yourself if you've got something creative. You can make it so that people can share it. With their friends and family, either on social media or, again, something that would be, a handout or something.
I know at our church we make a little like business card kind of things to give away to your neighbors and friends for services. Christmas Eve is coming. Join us for Christmas Eve service.
Absolutely. And so, the reason we're talking about this now is because, if you're going to pull some of this off, you don't want to wait till December. You want to get moving on this stuff. And so, and plus it's not going to be so stressful if you start now and start small. So any of those things that you mentioned, like the, little business cards that have the date and time of the Christmas Eve service or whatever it is you're doing, or flyers, or, again, digital stuff that people could share on their Facebook page or Twitter, or, have it on the website, those kind of things that people could grab and share. Just a really good thing. And by doing that, you're giving your people the ability to spread the word. You're empowering your people. So, all right.
Yeah, it makes sense. So, number 9, the 9th idea for Christmas.
The 9th idea when it comes to your Christmas ideas is consider lining up some kind of a local charity with your event. So promote, a good cause, maybe while you're leading up to Christmas Eve. And maybe even, if you can do it Christmas Eve, maybe have people bring a canned food item or non-perishable food for the food bank or for Gospel Rescue Mission.
I know that a lot of local charities team up with the churches. Actually, one of the charities that we partnered with at our church, I went to actually this play event I mentioned at the other church, and they were partnered with them as well. Mm-hmm. So there's an opportunity to partner with some local charities to, they'll, like you said, it may be a food drive, it may be a homeless shelter, maybe whatever, but they know how to partner with the church to identify the needs and work with them to, support the charity.
Yeah, absolutely. There's lots of things in your local area. Just look it up. I mean, there could be stuff for abused women, could be stuff for, foster care stuff, orphans, stuff for your inner city, and the things we mentioned earlier with Gospel Rescue Mission or we have interfaith community services here in Tucson. So those kind of things, when you promote that not only are you doing a Christmas Eve service, to bless your people and your church, but also you're doing it, again, looking outside your walls. You're hopefully your church is there for the community wherever you're at, and promoting a good cause leading up to Christmas Eve, and maybe accommodating during Christmas Eve is really a good way to help out a local charity, right, and spread some goodwill.
And I know our church and other churches had they took a special offering that's just that 100% goes to that charity.
Yeah. So. Good deal. And again, I mentioned getting some, promotional stuff out of it. I mean, if you're doing something like this, you can always contact your local TV or radio stations.
Yeah.
And, they can kind of help get the word out. So, yeah, good thing.
All right. So this last one you're not very good at, right?
Number 10, have fun. So I don't know about you, but I get worked up sometimes when I've got a project going, and Christmas, even if it's a small deal or a large deal, it can get intense. It can get kind of stressful. Remember, have fun. And when I say have fun, leading up to it as well as during the presentation. I mean, Christmas Eve, it can be a serious, sober deal, but there can be a little bit of fun sprinkled in it somehow. Just get creative. You can have a little bit of fun on your Christmas Eve service. I think I did one year at one of my churches. They had me come up. We put a big couch on the stage, a big sofa on the stage, and we brought it up there. And we had it up there ahead of time, and we had music and stuff going on around it. But I had this big, huge book, and I read the Christmas story to kids. So I had the kids come up. I had a bunch of little kids come up and sit on the sofa with Uncle Phil, and it was kind of comical. But I mean, the kids seemed to like it, and actually the people liked watching the kids because you know how kids are. You get a 3 or 4 year old up there, or even a little bit older, and they're going to be realistic. They're either going to be bored, or they're going to be happy, or they're not going to be unhappy. And it's amusing, and it kind of breaks up the service a little bit. And there's other things you can do too. I mean, there's such a thing as Santa Claus. So and it's some churches, that's Santa Claus is Satan spelled backwards. So I understand that. So maybe Santa Claus isn't going to be your thing at your Christmas party or your Christmas Eve service. But, for those churches that are fine with the myth of Santa Claus, you could have Santa Claus come and give out stuff for the kids, a little bit of fun.
All right.
That's all we're saying here. So there you go. So what about you, folks? What do you think about this? Do you have some Christmas ideas you would like to share with us? Do you think we're crazy? Do you think you could add to this? We'd love to hear from you. And how do people get a hold of us, Steve?
Support at StreamingChurch.tv.
That's good. Support at StreamingChurch.tv. We'd love to hear from you. Love to get your feedback on this. Christmas ideas. It's never too early to start. So there you have it. All right. So folks, if we can help you with anything technically or even ministry-wise, we can certainly be available to you. And Steve just gave the email address, support at StreamingChurch.tv. That's one of them. We'd love to help you any way we can, technically as well as ministry-wise. Got a ton of experience. We have something like 180 years between the both of us when it comes to ministry experience. So, all right. Well, that time's up. We're going to go ahead and get out of here. He's Steve Lacy. I'm Phil Thompson. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with us today on the Church Solutions Podcast, and we'll catch you next time on another edition. Take care.